here. Hopefully it goes. All right. Well, hello. This is me, Emiliano, also known as the Casual Radical. I like having conversations, and today I'm going to have Whodat speaking with me about a claim that I made that was accusing someone for like being a bigot with the comment. I don't know the person personally, so I don't know her true character, and I don't even know who she is, to be honest. And an easy way to counter that is just to respond saying, no, I'm not a bigot. This is what I felt. But in my defense, there's been a lot of talk with twerking because of the She-Hulk. And now we have the Little Mermaid. So that's been all in social media. So it just seems to me it adds more fuel to that theme. And it just like, well, you're going to get some I can't even talk right now, but backlash if you add to the theme of just like, okay, that's obviously aimed toward criticizing the African American community. And this is something that's happened in the past, especially with dance moves. Elvis Presley, he was getting labeled as being too sensual because the twerk back in the day was moving the hips, and yet people pearl clutching back then. So that's pretty much my reasoning. What do you have to say about that?
What I have to say is that it's a little presumptive to claim bigotry and or racism on the sole basis of somebody's like or dislike for one particular aspect of a person's subculture.
Sure. Okay. Well, I mean, that's definitely a good take. And this is Twitter, so you only can put so much. And that was my first thing that I criticized. That what was this person's name? I don't even know who she was. I just saw her on my thread. And I was like, well, that sounds like it's going with the theme of just criticizing what you see today on the internet. So that's why I was like, okay, she's just making more divisive commentary based on a lot of people that shake their booty. And it just seems like, okay, of all the cultures that shake their booties, the twerk has something to deal with one specific culture. So that's pretty much what I was just asking. And I could be wrong, and that's fine. And I like how you were able to advocate for your take on there, because to me, that's kind of like a dog whistle, because you could see more evidence how other people utilize that to call me white.
Wait.
What's that?
Because that did come up, and I was wondering if, because you look white enough.
So I'm not white enough. I speak Spanish, man. There's a lot of diversity in Latinos, dude.
Fair enough. But you know, like the trope, like, oh, all other people of a different race all look the same.
Exactly. But, and that's the same vibe I have when someone makes a comment about twerking. So you can do the same thing just based on my appearance, and based on that person's comment, I can also come up with assumptions. And the best way to counter that is just have that conversation.
Well, my stepdad is Latino, and he looks it. And you're a little bit lighter complexion. You don't have
man, like, that's pretty brown.
Okay, sure. You know, like I see a lot of people, and they'll be like, I'm not. I mean, I'm not saying that you are white. I'm just saying that it's not super obvious what you are exactly. Sure. And it wasn't. And it wasn't just me. I don't think I even said anything about you.
No, that wasn't you. No, but that's just proving my point as far as like people are going to have their assumptions. And the best way to just clear out the wind is to have those conversations. Because like I said, there's patterns, due to the She-Hulk, due to the Little Mermaid. And of course, to me, I interpret that as a dog whistle. I'm not really big at talking about social justice warrior talking points. I'm more left leaning when it comes to economics. But since, like I said, the pattern of that topic just coming up, I'm just like, okay, here comes another one just pushing divisive, talking.
I haven't really heard too much. I mean, I imagine there to be somebody who takes some sort of like opposition to the Little Mermaid being black, but I don't really hear a lot of, I'd say, real pushback on the Little Mermaid being black. Most of like the sentiment that I get is that no one really cares that a fictional character is cast as a person of color.
Yeah, well, you got all the. I'm sorry. Go ahead. It's hard to read your lips because I don't see you, but it's okay.
Oh, you don't see me? I don't know why that is. I'm not really. I don't know how to put. What is it? Video on here.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. So the makeup I wore was for nothing.
Oh, dang, man. But no, I hear what you're saying. I think in real life, people don't really care about that. It's pretty much online culture that you see that. But that's when people keep their opinions to themselves when you see them in real life. So you can say, yeah, it's not really what you see when you're out in the open, but at the same time, that's what people are thinking. It's kind of a reflection of what's going through people's mind, what you see in social media. And then plus on my Facebook account, I see people that I actually know that are putting memes about that particular topic. And I'm just like, it does matter, but not to the extent, I guess, the social media makes it seem like it. And you can find it trending where people are outraged. You have all those commentators from the conservative side giving their takes. And to be honest, I haven't watched them, but it's a topic they're discussing.
I don't know. And I try to, because like nothing can be more like unimportant to me than somebody
I agree.
casting Little Mermaid. So like as far as anybody having a real issue with that, I don't think it would even come across on my radar. But I am in a lot of conservative circles, and so far I haven't really seen too much of that. I think that when people claim to hear like a lot of racist dog whistling,
Mm.
the only people who really hear them are the actual racist dogs. And so I'm particularly sensitive to people who, because this is the thing, I'm not saying that you're doing it, but a
No,
lot of people try to rush to the defense of Blacks and Black culture in order to score points. And I don't like that, because you may or may not have noticed I'm Black,
I
and
assume you are,
I
yes.
yeah, and I don't like the whole, and I'm not trying to say that you're white, but like the white savior trope where people are like, oh, you can't be critical of anything that Blacks do in their culture or subculture, no matter how toxic or destructive that it might be, because if you are, then you're racist. And so
No, I
that's
get
what
that.
yeah,
And
that's
I
what
do
started the
agree.
whole thing.
No,
And
and I definitely agree. I think people could resolve that a lot easier if they actually have conversations about it. If you put like white people and put them against a corner and say, okay, why'd you say that? I can go ahead and justify why I said that, because as a dog whistle, not just for Blacks, it's not an inclusive statement, in my opinion. And it proved on that thread. Gays started coming up. And I was like, okay, now they're trying to make it look like it's making the culture look bad because people are sexualizing it, which I wasn't even thinking sexualization when I saw people twerking. I was literally saying moving your booty. So I was like, it got turned into a conversation that was about an orgy. And I was like, okay.
I missed that one.
No,
But
I know. Yeah,
at the
I knew
same
it
time,
wasn't you. It wasn't
I
you.
don't see how twerking and sexualization are divorced from each other at all. I think they're like pretty intrinsically like tied together. Like they're
I disagree. I think that's a sensual dance move. Sensuality doesn't always mean sexuality. I mean, you have people, moving, dancing by themselves. If you're in the club, I guess it can
okay.
be seen that way.
Hold on, because I'm just gonna Google just some random definition of sensual,
Sure.
just to get a gauge
Well,
on.
I mean, while you're Googling, they have clothing. People will dress sensual. Does that mean that makes them a slut? Are you going to judge someone based on how they dress? I mean, yeah, if they're going
You
to go
you
for
you can't
apply for
help
a
it.
job. Well,
Wait a minute. Wait. You can't. So somebody's garb is a strong indicator of their value. So if somebody
mhm,
dresses sensually, I don't know, because like maybe the word maybe the word slut has a lot of baggage, but
mhm.
even like I don't know. I just got into Dave Chappelle, but he made a really good point about this like years ago, that all you have to go on at first glance is like how a person is dressed or their appearances. And he makes this analogy. He's like, if you see
Sure.
me walking down the street in a cop uniform, and you're like, hey officer, I need help, and he's like, well, hold on, just because I'm dressed this way doesn't, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
so
I think
if
there's
you
like a rubric that we could probably agree on, like a nice skin tight red dress that covers everything can be seen as very sensual, but at the same time, it could be a conservative sexy. I mean, I think people will go to the extremes to deny that charitability to people too.
fair enough. But if someone is dressing or behaving, dancing sensually, and I don't like to make appeals to definition. So if you have an issue with the definition,
No, I don't.
I love
Go
to hear
for it.
it.
I'm
But
all
yeah,
for
so
everything.
Yeah, so the very first definition that pops up is relating to or involving gratification of the senses and physical, especially
Senses,
sexual pleasure.
visual senses. I mean, there are 5 senses there, buddy.
Well, wait a minute, buddy. That was you stopped in the middle of the definition.
Sorry.
Relating to or involving gratification of the senses and physical, especially sexual pleasure. So it is of the senses, but there's an emphasis on sexual pleasure. And so all these things can be, like tied back to sex. Obviously, visual, there's touch, even smell and taste. All these things can have some sexual like undertone or sexual root. So
I agree.
I think sensual and sexual are deeply tied. Maybe not like necessarily all the time, but it's very common to the point where it's almost expected. And I don't think people, I know as a heterosexual male, I don't see twerking as absent of sexuality or sensuality whatsoever.
Okay, so do you see people that are in like drill teams and all that? Do you feel like you have to go ahead and, talk to them and ask them about their sexuality, or do you think it's a performance?
Wait, what's a drill team?
Like people dancing, dude.
I've never heard of the term drill team.
You've never heard of like cheerleading and all that stuff?
I've heard of cheerleading, but I didn't know
Yeah.
they went by. I mean, because there's cheerleading and there's drill team. I've heard of
And
cheerleading.
there's like, I had to like educate myself with twerking, to be honest, because I didn't know there were so many different kinds of twerking. I mean, because to be honest, I'm no expert at it, but I was like, this sounds like a dog whistle. And I'm just defending what I was thinking. I was like, when I did Google search, like you just did to find a definition, I was like, okay, there's an upper twerk, a lower twerk where you sit on your head. And some of them do look more sexual than others, the moves. I agree. But there's some where you just like have to move your hips back. And a lot of women get in clubs to get, in shape. They have different kinds of like dances to make it more engaging for women because they like feeling sensual. Because I mean, that's pretty common. If you hang out with some girls, they like looking sexy. And that's another term that you could use. Oh, that means sex, but it doesn't to women. I mean, they like to dress up to look at, for each other too, which isn't even sexual. I mean, it's weird. I'm a dude, you're a dude. So we just think, okay, why are you trying to impress other women? That isn't that for us? You're like, no, they care what their peers think. And so it's just really weird. Sometimes the mentality of how women think. And I don't think it's always sexual. I mean, when they think they're going to be sexy, it's not necessarily for physical. Would you agree or
So like
disagree?
you said, you educated yourself on twerking. I hadn't, because twerking has been part of like Black culture for ever since the late '90s. So
No, actually, it was in the African. It was created in Africa, and it got some more treadway in Louisiana, and then probably in the '90s as well, like you said.
Well, I wasn't making a claim as to where it started. I was making a claim as to how long it's been a part of
your
like
life,
my subculture.
your life.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe, because I'll be honest, like I haven't like given myself like a deep dive into twerking, but
I had
as
either,
far as like
to be honest,
just a run of the mill definition, because I see that I'm from BBC.com. BBC twerk dates back to 1820, which is a lot older than I thought it was. But the dictionary definition involves describing twerking as dancing in a sexually provocative manner. So again,
sensual.
This definition uses sexually, and then even the word sensual is really deeply connected to sexual. So I think that like 90% of the time, maybe more than 90% of the time, twerking is sexually provocative.
I wouldn't. That's sensual to me. Yeah, I agree. Or I'm not going to disagree with you.
Say what now?
I'm not going to disagree with you on that.
Okay, so maybe a person doesn't like sexually provocative dance. Maybe they're just a little more conservative. I think there's a plethora of reasons that somebody can not like twerking. Now, to say that it's not a dance, I pick
that's
my
what I was going to get at.
Yeah, I'd be like, okay, sure, if you think so, but if you ask me, gun to my head, is twerking a dance without a hesitation for a moment, I'd say, yeah, it's a dance. So the original tweet said something about if it is a dance, it's not very good. So let's all concede that it is a dance, through whatever definition of dance,
Yeah,
it's not a very good dance. But there's tons of reasons that you could not like a dance and you not be bigoted. And
I
then,
agree.
okay,
So why would you call it? I mean, it's all right not to like it, but why would you oppose that it's not something when it is? So that does seem like you're categorizing something because you don't like it based on nothing, and that's kind of what bigots do.
but it may not be based on nothing. That's
That's her
another
job to
reason.
prove it. I mean, when you have people like me asking questions and then utilizing an argument that's a dog whistle and actually having people solidifying what I said by making other accusations that were kind of uninclusive, I was like, I rest my case.
Well, I wanted to go through the whole thread, but I was, getting ready for work, and
Yeah, no. And I think you're a good advocate for what you're saying. I mean, you're defending the comment in a good way. And like I said, you and I agree. It is seen as sensual, and that could be interpreted two different ways, as one overly provocative. And I conceded that there's some twerking moves you're just like, dang. And, I'm a fan. When I was single and going to the clubs, I wouldn't. I mean, I took part in it too. Would it make me look, skanky too? I mean, that's up to a debate there as well. But I don't really judge someone's character for wanting to shake their booty. I mean, maybe after the club, they're a professional and they're responsible. But I just get that vibe when someone makes a comment like it's not even a dance, whatever. It's just like to downplay a part of a dance that's specified for one culture based on what you've been seeing online. It just adds to that dialogue.
True, but I think that to say that it's based on nothing is then you're going the extra step, and
Yeah.
that's
And that's why I
where the
list
problem-
more than one reason. I just didn't say for her being bigoted. I made other claims too.
Well, yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong, but one of your claims about you said just admit it that you don't like it when African American hip hop dance moves are mainstream.
Yeah. I think I think that's a legitimate concern because based on patterns in our history, you see a lot of people clutching their pearls when you see a confident Black person moving their hips. It's happened before in our past. You deny that?
I'm not denying it, but I can't think of some
I give you an
you got the
example.
specifics. Okay, yeah, sure.
Elvis Presley was influenced by the dancing of African Americans, which was at that time seen as obscene. So it was just like being confident in your sensuality, I guess.
Well, hold on.
And it was too much.
But people didn't disapprove of Elvis Presley's provocative dancing because he got the provocative dancing from Black people. They didn't like it because it was
he had to give credit. Yeah, they did. They go, you're moving like the colored folks. He got criticized for that, and he gave credit to where he got it from. He went to their neighborhoods, and then he encouraged people to pursue music. You could look it up. There's documentaries that show footage of him going to those communities.
How quickly do you think we could come up with some sort of evidence to suggest that the people who were opposed to Elvis Presley's provocative dance were opposed to it, not because of the provocative nature of the dance, but because of the Black origin of the provocative nature of the dance?
I mean, I have no idea. I just said it's a pattern that it's happened before in history. I mean, to define it, I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
I don't want to source throw you, but no. without seeing something like that for myself, I'm really skeptical.
Well, how old are you?
How old am I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you don't have the video. I'm 32.
I'm 42. So, I mean, I reside in Texas. So, I mean, I see a lot of pearl clutching with rock music back in the day. I mean, when Twisted Sister had to like protect her rights. So it's not necessarily a white thing. It's a conservative thing that bothers me. And it might not have been like white people. It could have been other Blacks. They didn't like that sensual twist of the hips, like sticking it out when Elvis was playing his guitar.
Okay. Do you know why? Okay. So like, but are people who have more conservative outlooks wrong for having more conservative outlooks? I know you use the term pearl clutching.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that phrase. And
I'll tell you, I can answer your question. I don't mind you having a conservative outlook as long as it stays in your house, but you shouldn't use that to govern a nation. Everyone shouldn't be dictated to what your religion is. I'm religious. I'm pretty conservative in my home. But I'm not going to go ahead and say, oh, no, you shouldn't do this. We should go ahead and, make you feel inferior with your morality, claim the moral high ground all the time. I'm against that. Let people be who they want to be. And you can see some of these conservative mindsets turning into laws with our Supreme Court justice.
And can you give me an example of one of those laws?
Yeah, I can. There's a lot of laws in Texas that are not helping people have the right to choose as far as
To choose
abortion.
what?
I was for your abortion.
Oh.
So they don't have it anymore. They have to make sure they go somewhere else to get those procedures because their rights have been a little bit snipped away.
Well, hold on.
Go ahead.
I'm pro-life.
I am too.
I do not think that any human being has the right to end the life of another human being. And I'm not trying
do you
to
advocate for rights for kids to have a decent life when they're born? Or are you pro-birth?
I'm pro-birth.
Okay, well, you're not pro-life then, because their life is not going to be much better if they're born into poverty.
But I don't think having a rough life. I'm from Detroit. I don't think that saying that somebody is going to have a rough life is a justification to end that life.
I'm not saying, yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. What's your definition of life when I mean, are they recognized to be alive? Are they getting tax benefits when they're in the womb? I mean, if we're going to define it as a living creature, why don't they get the same benefits as a living creature?
I mean, I think the first benefit that they get is to have their life protected by the federal law. And that's one thing that they don't have.
Well, they're not protected if their mothers are not protected. What if the mothers live into poverty? I mean, without their mom, they're dead. I mean, what if they have to go to work on a couple of part-time jobs?
That's different than killing the
no, I disagree. I mean, I'm in a country. When we want to have healthy animals, we take care of the moms. I mean, why is it so hard to take care of a human mother to make sure their babies are healthy?
Okay, so let me level with you. I do think I'm willing to have a conversation about like healthcare reform and
I want to get that first before we try to have the moral high ground of like saying, hey, let's help the life of a baby. When I hear a lot of people like feel accomplished when that happens, but there's a lot of suffering, and I feel that's a strong, aspect of life, limiting
absolutely
the suffering.
Yeah. So and that's why I don't like when people say, well, do you like when people say, oh, you're pro-birth, you're not pro-life. No, I'm willing to have a conversation about the social safety net. That's fine. And I think that we misallocate tons of funds that could be reallocated into having a better functioning social safety net. That's wonderful, but that's not what we're talking about at the time. Usually when when people are debating like pro-life, pro-choice issues, they're not like, people want to pivot into another issue completely. And then they want to say, well, if you don't want to have a talk about how we can, reform economies and things like that so that we can provide for these people, well, then you just want them to be born and you don't really care what happens to them. Those are two different conversations that you need to have separately. And I think that the pro-life conversation has to come first, because if all the children are dying, in utero, then it doesn't really matter what kind of social safety net we have. They're not going to receive the benefits of those in the first place. And the justification will always be, oh, well, that's because they're poor.
No, well, I disagree with you, because you could just look at our history. When we had a better economy, there was less abortions because people were able to, handle the financial burden of a family. I mean, that's just what it comes down to.
What decade are you talking?
I mean, in the past, when people were having kids and going to church, that's another question, what I have from conservatives.
Hold on. Let me hold you to that.
Sure.
Because I asked what decade, you said the past, but the past is demarcated by a bunch of different
I mean, the baby boom. I mean, when the economy was, that's one of the questions that I asked Trump supporters, because they reference the past, and I can give you a decade, like during the Eisenhower administration. Okay. There was a lot more people willing to have a family.
Why not 1830?
Well, 1830 wasn't known as the economical boom, was it? Economy booming?
Well,
that was the depression, man.
But still,
all right.
But
no, 1830.
The poverty rate was a lot higher. There were a lot more poor people, and people were poorer, in absolute terms, than they were in most other time periods after that. But the abortion rate was a lot lower.
Okay,
well, people were having children, and it wasn't like, oh,
when
I'm
the
poor,
middle class.
I'm
okay, you're putting a caveat out there that's probably accurate, but so is mine. I'm telling you, when the middle class was strong, people had more kids, and there was a baby boom. Was there a baby boom back during that time?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so people didn't have abortion. They just didn't have any many kids. It's like they had when the economy was good. And I'm not saying that's bad or wrong or good, but it's just a fact. When you have a better economy, people are going to be more motivated to not end the life of their kid. They're going to want to have a family. They're going to want to get married. They're going to want to have those traditional values. And I think that's the benefit of having a good economy, which I think we should advocate first, because when you have kids and you force people to have kids, which I'm pro-life, I've never had an abortion, but I can also see the patterns of forcing people to have kids.
We're
And
not
then
forcing people to have kids.
if they're pregnant and you don't let them pick
You
an
don't let them
abortion,
kill it. If they're pregnant and you don't let them kill the baby, then you're forcing them to have kids. That's
okay.
what you're about to say.
Well, no. I mean, the thing is, it's the woman's choice. I'm not making the choice. I'm not killing anyone. So you can't label that on me. So the thing is, that's something that's been in all the developed countries. And it's something that's kind of considered extreme from the right to push that ideology on everybody, because they want to claim the moral high ground, but they don't take care of the issues that come with having a kid. So I really don't think you have the moral high ground by saying, hey, we don't want to kill a baby, but you don't want to help, not you, but in general. And when
Right.
other countries offer a rubric that helps maintain society, and I just think that's superior to whatever a conservative is advocating for. There's empirical data to show that.
To show what exactly? I don't
That
want to.
people's well-being is better. They have happiness rating of people in other countries. They have innovated, they have education ratings. I mean, I'm not trying to say our country's bad. I want to make it better. That's why I recognize that data, so we could be number one.
Well, I think we both want the country to be better, but what we're talking about is we're talking about methods, and we're talking about like theories and how we go
There's no
about it.
theories. People that give the right to the women, they're better off
By what standard?
by health standards. What are we ranked of all the developed countries
Wait,
in
hold
prenatal
on.
care?
We're better off in terms of health by letting women decide to
Yeah,
terminate their pregnancy.
especially when it comes to pregnancy. What are we ranked with taking care of people that are going through labor? I mean, go ahead and do some research. I mean, if you want to fact check me, we're not doing comparably well to our developed peer nations.
I'm
I
still
think we're
not
ranked
understanding
13. I
like
mean,
what the health metric is, because like having a child doesn't make you necessarily like
okay,
any more prone to disease, I don't think.
I'm talking about the health factor with a person that's pregnant. How do we care for our pregnant women when we expect them to have babies? How is our health care for pregnant women? We rank really low compared to developed nations.
So I'm sorry, I'm gonna try to like really dumb this down. Are you saying that we should have better like entitlements and access to things like maybe prenatal care or something like that for pregnant women?
Yeah, because it doesn't seem that you value the life of the mom when you have a high mortality rate for people that are giving birth.
So I'd have to know our birth rate, like our birth
Yeah,
fatalities
sure.
or something like
I
that.
just remember seeing that and I was surprised. I was like, wow, for all these people that are pro-life, they're not even familiar with how successful we are for maintaining the life of people that are giving birth. I don't have the facts in front of me. It's something I had researched. So by all means, fact check me, people. It's not something to brag about.
Wait, what's not something to brag about?
Okay, I don't want to dumb it down, but I'm gonna repeat
No.
myself.
I'm pretty dumb. So
Yeah,
like,
no,
yeah, come
no,
down
no.
with me.
Here, I'll go ahead and share it with you. While we're talking, I can share it. Let me go ahead and share that data with us. No, you're not dumb, dude. I don't want you to think I think low of you. Actually,
I know me better than you know me.
hey, well, I mean, my opinion matters to me too. So,
Oh, don't let me get my wife in here to weigh in.
hey, man.
She'll take my side on this one for sure.
Well, I mean, here, yeah, that's fine. But you and your wife aren't the majority of people in the United States. Y'all guys are in the minority. Um,
Wait, did you just call me a minority?
no, the
No,
minority of
I'm joking. I'm joking.
you pulling the race card on me, man. You live.
You know, in life they say you got to play the hand you were dealt. I was dealt the race card.
I mean, the thing what people don't realize is like there's a lot of racism within race. So I'm just trying to find out who has the highest mortality rate during child. Okay. Yeah, I apologize. I'll probably have to go ahead and find the stat that I really wanted to. I'm looking for it right now.
Okay. Oh, no worries. I can always like just entertain the idea. So like
Sure.
maybe you thought like we're like 13, and that's to say like we're ranked number 13 as far as mothers who died during childbirth.
Okay, well, like for California, the death rate for infant mortality rates due to the CDC is 3.69 in California and Texas. The more conservative, it's 5.22 death rate. So I'm here. I'll go ahead and share this link right now. I'll put it on the share screen so you can see it.
So that's like 1 out of 20 people giving birth are like dying.
I don't know. It just like it's kind of interesting because all the pro-life states. Can you see this? You can see in Texas. I mean, the bluer it is, the higher the death rates are. So you can see a lot of the red states is where there's a lot of issues, and the light blue states are the those liberal states that are pro-choice.
Okay, so
they do a better job. They do a better job of preserving life. So it's just in rhetoric, the conservatives sound like they have the moral high ground, but y'all guys don't do a good job of keeping people alive.
But here's the thing. I don't think that on this issue, conservatives are clamoring for the moral high ground. I think that their concern is with protecting or preserving the life of the
that does no good. We gotta do what works. I mean, it's like saying, and that does no good if what you advocate for it doesn't work. I mean, there's a lot of things when you have a baby, you have to plan before a baby comes to the world. If the mother herself is not in a good condition, the kid's going to die. So if you don't value the mother, I mean, that's why there's an issue with infant deaths.
Okay. If you can agree to not, use phrases like claiming the moral high ground, I won't use phrases like you're holding the baby hostage.
No, you can use whatever you want.
Okay.
I have the moral high ground.
It sounds to me
my plan works, yours doesn't. No matter what your wife says or you say, what I believe kills less babies.
I don't know if that's true.
I just showed you empirical data.
No. You're showing me more mothers dying. I thought I showed you
more infants dying.
Okay.
And I'm telling you why they die, because you don't take care of the people in those states.
So, do you know what the leading cause of death for those infants are?
No, I just showed you the data. I mean, we could go do a deeper dive if you want.
So they're dying. So what you can say is that they're dying.
Yeah, being a pro-life, that's your job to find out why are they dying. You got to make them live.
Well, I think that if people weren't killing them, that would make it so that more of them did live.
But that's where they're dying the most, where people are not having abortions. They're having those rights taken away. And just to be fair,
wait. Hold on. If there's a fictional land where 0 abortions are performed, then how do I want to frame this? Because if your position is that in blue states,
and to be fair, that's from 2020. Okay, that's not current. I want to be fair.
Okay, fine. But the claim is that there are fewer total deaths because of abortion rights than there are deaths in places that have a stricter stance on abortion.
Yeah, there's a better chance for living in a least authoritarian state. Sorry. Yeah, I can see to that.
I can't see how that's remotely even possible.
Well, I just showed you the data, dude. I mean, that's how it is. It's impossible in the United States.
I'm pretty dumb, and I'm not 100% sure what I was looking at. If you want to leave it on the screen, I can like stare at it.
Sure. I'll go ahead and
so I can absorb it all.
No. I'm not trying to. You're not dumb, dude. You're not. Okay, infant mortality rates by state. So the highest infant mortality rates, the death rates, are dark blue regions. You can see the lighter blue regions are those
They're
liberal
pretty much all
states.
red states, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I want to make red states better. I don't hate on, I live in a red state. So I don't want people that, a lot of those infants die with parents that want them. It breaks my heart thinking, one of the talking points by some conservatives is like, can you believe they want to have an abortion on the third trimester? And usually when it comes to that, it's because they want to have their child. Something bad happens due to health factors with the mother. But you won't have an honest conversation with a pundit from Fox News that try to push that kind of talking point. Things are complicated. You know what? You have to give the benefit of the doubt when you see this data. It doesn't make these people bad. It's the situation they're in. And that's what you need to fix if you're pro-life, period. You can't have this data and say your way's the right way when there's failure. What's your rubric for failure? This is it.
So I don't think that those two things are related in the way that you're claiming that they are, because what we're looking at is can you put that back on the screen, please?
Oh, sure. No, hey man, we're here to learn together. And I think when we have these conversations, that's how we don't allow the media to divide us. And we can look, for ourselves. Sure.
Okay. So yeah, this is the infant mortality rate by state.
Yeah.
Okay. If the claim is that the redder states have a higher infant mortality, what are you suggesting is the reason for the infant mortality rate? Is it the healthcare?
Get rid of conservatives, because they also dictate the economic policies too, because they go hand in hand.
Okay, so on one issue, so on one hand, we're talking economic policy, but on the other hand, we're talking about whether or not a mother can kill a baby.
Okay.
I see how those things are connected, but only tangentially, not like there's like a one-to-one correlation.
Are killing the baby with their policies too.
In a super like roundabout way.
Dead is dead, man. I mean, I don't know why you're making excuses now.
But here's the thing. Okay, so like maybe the economic policies make it so that like people have a harder time like finding jobs or something like that, which I don't even necessarily agree with.
Which will kill a baby.
To say that kills more children than establishments like Planned Parenthood, which
Planned Parenthood also helps keep babies too. I'm sure
there's more people dying. There's more children dying by Planned Parenthood abortions than there are children dying because
you also know that Planned Parenthood helps keep the baby too.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm not saying that they don't. I'm just unsure. Yeah. But that's not an issue because they're helping people keep babies, but they're also killing a lot of babies.
Who's killing more babies, Planned Parenthood or these states?
You want to add up these deaths?
No, I mean, that's just like, okay,
I'm dumb
for that too, but I'm just saying that would be a good question to compare. I think that's a fair question. Planned Parenthood's doing alive and well in California, and they have less infant mortality.
We're talking about California but abortions don't count as infant mortality.
I'm just saying babies die. I don't really.
I agree. Babies do. Yeah, babies die. But are more babies dying from abortions, or are more babies dying from like ineffective or poor policy? And can we not try to address both of those things?
I think we should prioritize one more than the other, because obviously the reason I say that, based on the data, the people that allow women to choose have less babies dying. Now,
but those people, that's like a big nothing burger.
No, it's not, because that's economic. I mean, when you have a kid, it costs a lot of money, dude. That's not nothing, but you have a kid.
I need you to tie this into how a baby actually dies.
Well, because what if the person chooses to have an abortion because they already have another child? That's a factor. I mean, I'm not saying that's my cup of tea. I have 2 kids, never thought about abortion, but other people don't have that financial security like I do.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's hard for me to swallow the claim that the infant mortality rates are like directly linked to like economic policy set forth by red states versus blue states, when what we're talking about is the
more poverty.
And I understand poverty will definitely contribute to like the infant mortality rates,
but that's completely different than saying that, like, this is, it almost feels like, hold on, I don't want to use the wrong word. It almost feels like a side issue. Like, what I'm saying is, I don't think that parents, mothers should be killing their child in the womb. And what you're saying is, what I think is that we should make economic policy to make these women more prosperous. Therefore, some like infant mortality rate goes down. I also agree with you, but I don't see how that has much to do with abortions.
It depends. Everyone has their own story. I mean, unless we hear from a woman that got an abortion, maybe they had a person that said, hey, I'll be good to you, and ends up beating them. And then now she's pregnant. And then she sticks around because she needs financial security. And then she finally comes to her senses and still hasn't gave birth. And she's like, I need to get away. I mean, when you have birth, it messes your whole body up, man. So, I mean, as a woman, it's not an easy situation. I mean, I'm pretty sure some of them, I don't want to normalize abortions. So I just want to go ahead and make that clear. I mean, I don't want people to be irresponsible and just say, hey, let's just get rid of it. And I think for the most part, most women probably, you know, they don't like having to do that. But there's probably some circumstances that, you know, it's their well-being for being employed, because you're going to be out of commission. And if you're in an area where there's poverty, you need to get a paycheck. So it's just like, if you're pregnant, it's going to affect your ability to just put food on the table for yourself. And if you already have kids. So there's a lot of scenarios.
But, and this, you know, this is a big issue. This is a big reason why conservatives, you know, part of, you know, the conservatism is that you shouldn't be having, you know, sex out of wedlock. You shouldn't be, you should be in a relationship.
Sex out of wedlock in California, they don't kill as many kids, dude. I mean, that's just, there's sex out of wedlock in a lot of countries that don't have the problems that conservative states in the United States have.
I know, I know that is one component. You got to admit, if you were married with to the person that you were having sex with, that you would be able to, it wouldn't be just you. You maybe would have two incomes, or you'd have at least one working person and one person able to like raise the child. You'd have a partner. And then that would, you know, reduce the, you know, socioeconomic factors that would contribute to the decision that you would make to abort the baby. Like, conservatism is an entire package. It's not like, oh, we think that you should be able, we want you to be able to go out and boff whoever you want to. But if you get pregnant, now you have to keep the baby. No, we definitely agree, or we definitely believe that if you get pregnant, that baby should have a chance at life too. But we also advise people to, you know, don't just go out and have casual unprotected sex, because you run the risk of this thing happening. It's a package deal, and you sometimes you got to look at it on the whole.
No, I mean, I think you're looking at through American lens. Other countries don't have these conversations because they take care of their mothers. Now, I wonder how big their abortion rate is. It's probably not as big as ours in the United States.
Well, now, yeah, I mean, but look at the things that America is doing. I mean, we're going through like this sexual revolution. I don't think, you know,
have prostitution legalized in other parts of the world, dude. I mean, we're considerably on the right compared to a lot of our peer nations. It's like, I don't.
You think that we're more? There's no way that we're more conservative. I mean, maybe than like some
our peer nations. Are you going to compare us to some developing nation? I mean, yeah, we might be liberal to compare to them, but our peer nations pretty more on the right.
I don't know. I haven't been to too many other countries. I think I've been to Canada like twice. So yeah. I don't know. But so I really don't, I can't speak on that.
I know, that's what I said. And I think you do know what you're talking about through American lens. And that's fine. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like conservative values. I used to be a Republican. I'm still very conservative. I'm Catholic. All right. I believe, I'm a believer, but I do critical thinking. And I'm just like, you have to face those hard truths. What's going to help more people? I'm not saying it's a good thing that people are going to go get an abortion, but like I had mentioned earlier, it depends on their story. And it's not something that's up to me. It's up to the woman, and she has to live with the consequences of what her decision is.
Well, wait a minute. What if the baby is also yours? It's not. I don't think it's up to just the woman.
If it was mine, I'd make sure she would be taken care of, so I could take care of the mother to have my kids.
Spoken
I'm
like a conservative to me.
I am. I told you I'm conservative in my home, but I'm not going to judge other people on, I don't know their situation.
Well,
Am I gonna-
yeah, and I don't want to judge anyone either. I just don't
But
want doctors to be able
overall,
to perform
people in
abortions.
conservative states have legislation that pass judgment on everybody.
Legislation that passes judgment, like to say like you're a bad person.
No, you can't have the right to make your choice.
Oh, I mean, okay, you can't have the right to kill a baby, is what you're saying.
They're killing more babies, so they want the right to do it, I guess.
But they're
According to data.
not killing more babies.
I literally showed you data where more babies are dying. If you
but
don't take care of the
killing
mother,
babies. If you go to a
you're
doctor
killing
and have the
the
doctor
mother.
perform an abortion, that's killing a baby.
No, I think if
a
you're
mother
killing,
gets pregnant, if a mother gets pregnant in an environment under circumstances where she can't provide and she doesn't have a man to provide, that's not the government killing them. It's not them helping, and I'm not a big fan of that either. But it's completely different than actually going to kill the baby.
I think you're using direct comparisons. I think it's killing if you're directly or indirectly killing the baby. I mean, you get in court, you get charged for murder charges if you're just, looking and you're not helping. You can get convicted of part of doing a crime if you're an associate of the crime. I'm not.
If you're an associate, but not if you're like you're not.
That's you know what I mean. I'm not using the correct legal terminology, but
right. But being associated
happening
with a crime is a lot different than witnessing one.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just like they're not doing the killing, but they're like handing them the means to not be successful. That ends up in the data we just saw. I mean, I don't know.
But look, you can stretch that logic and say, well, like, I can't. Economic conditions are such that I can't get a job, or I can't get a job where I can have the lifestyle that I want to have, and so I starved to death or I froze to death. The government killed me.
They did. They should house you if they're one of the wealthiest countries in the world.
But it's technically it's not them killing you. They didn't help, but you weren't killed by the government. So
I know what you're trying to give me, like you're trying to get me. I can't even think of the word I'm trying to use. A really good like truth that's just how it is. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I apologize. I know it's in my head. You're giving me an example that's too concrete. I mean, we're human beings. It's complicated, and it just sounds like you're trying to escape accountability or make excuses for something that should be better.
No. I'm not trying to escape. What I'm saying that is there a level of accountability that the government should have for at least trying to provide you.
No, they should. We're number one. We got to take care of our people. Including the Christianity. You take care of the weak.
Did they kill you? And no,
if they deny you basic healthcare needs, they are murderers in my view. You shouldn't be denied good parental care when you're having a baby, maternity care. And in our country, I got to find those stats of how.
But that's not tantamount to actually killing somebody. It's not the greatest thing in the world. I'll give you that, but it's not the same. It's not the same as killing.
What if you had a kid and your doctor was just like, man, and due to their negligence, your kid died? I'm pretty sure you might have a different opinion.
If the doctor was negligent and my child died, I'm pretty sure they'd be legally culpable in some fashion. I don't know if that would like rise to the standard of like murder. I don't know. I mean, I'd probably say like if I were like to see him on the street and as I like shot at him, I'd be like, "You killed my baby." But
yeah,
I don't. But it wouldn't be murder or anything like that. If the government, and that's completely different. If the government doesn't have a policy or doesn't have like an entitlement plan for you, and you get pregnant, and due to the government's lack of an entitlement plan, then your baby dies. That's not the government killing your baby.
I don't know. It depends who you talk to. Like if you talk to someone from Europe.
To kill something is to take its life. The government didn't take your life. It didn't provide you with entitlements that you think you ought to have in order to. And whether or not you ought to have those things, like when you talk to a conservative, like the most hardcore conservatives, like all the government has to do is provide you, we have to like protect your life, liberty, and property. And other than that, the government doesn't owe anything to you. So like you're not entitled. You're not entitled to healthcare.
That's
Healthcare
a
is a
talking
service.
point. Now, I disagree because other
Well-
developed countries do offer that as an entitlement, and they also entertain that.
Comparing what another country does to us is no basis to say that that's what our country should be doing. Because I could just say
Constitution was based on laws
shouldn't be
from
doing
other
it.
countries. So I
Tell you
mean,
what?
that's our Constitution was based on what we saw from other countries, and it's an elastic document that can be changed. So I don't understand that talking point. It's not solely from the U.S. They reference Benjamin Franklin. They all went to Europe to see what worked there to bring it here. So I mean, just that talking point is just like, well, what they do in other countries. Well, that's how we made our Constitution.
Yeah, it's how we informed our Constitution.
Yeah.
But
it's
to
an
say that-
elastic document.
Here's the thing.
Sorry, I
You-
interrupted.
You do not, no matter how you want to slice it, you say you're pretty conservative. I think you'll understand the logic here. You are not entitled to someone else's services.
Well, then how can you explain police? How can you explain the military? How can you explain the firefighters?
Try this. Try to sue the police for not protecting you, and they'll tell you they are under no obligation to protect you.
Under Constitution, yeah, they just protect property, but they do enforce laws that help your well-being. It helps your property.
So if that's the case, then hold on.
When there's a profit incentive, people are going to look at that rather than your well-being. And that's the issue in our healthcare system, because if it's not in their profit to prioritize your well-being, they're not going to really give it, much of a priority.
Let me try to meet you halfway.
Sure.
When you say that we should be entitled, or the government should provide us with some sort of healthcare, what you're saying is that the government should take our tax dollars and they should pay healthcare providers to provide a basic set of services for us at the taxpayer's dime.
Yep. Because if you do that, it'll be more fiscally conservative. People will be more health conscious. They'll go to the doctors more. They probably won't be as obese. I mean, if you look at other countries that do that, they're healthier. We're one of the fattest nations because people don't prioritize their health because they don't go to the doctor. They don't do preventative measures because they're afraid of the costs.
I'm not going to speculate as to why they don't go, but I think a lot of people don't go because they don't think they need to. But that's another conversation.
It's the cost, man. I mean, there's a lot of medical debt in this country, and it's a racket. I mean, just to have a middleman with the insurance, it always goes up. I mean, I'm insured with my job, but every year it goes up, and they deny you less coverage, or there's not as many healthcare providers in your network. I mean, it's shady 101. I mean, if you don't,
so if the government got out completely.
I mean, all our politicians have the gold standard. Why can't I? Why can't you?
Okay, so this is where, and again, like I told you, I'm dumb. So when I try to get in the nuances of.
You're not dumb, dude. I'm not gonna let you call yourself dumb. You're a patriot. You're asking good conversation. You're asking good questions. You're having a good conversation. People that don't have conversations are the dummies.
I guess you could say that. Okay, fine. I'm super smart. Anyway. Yeah. So, but this is one of the things. What do you believe that if the government is halfway into our healthcare, you think they should just double down and go all the way, or because I don't know. I think maybe if they got completely out of healthcare, maybe healthcare would be a little more competitive. Maybe the cost would go down. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Oh, I can tell you. I mean, if you have money, you're good. You're good.
You don't
have money.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the best healthcare coverage ever. I mean, the innovation we have in this country is second to none when you have the money. But that's the issue. If you don't have the money, we're not really good. I mean, look at the red states that don't even take care of the people there. They have the most infant mortality rate. So it's all connected. People's well-being is going to be connected to our ability to recognize their pain. I mean, if we're going to ignore the fact that people don't go to the doctor, I mean, it's just going to have a domino effect of other issues. So when you have debt, you're not going to contribute to the local economy. When you have debt, you're more than likely going to have an abortion. When you have debt, you're probably not going to want to get married. There goes those traditional values. So we don't offer financial security to people like they do in other countries where they take medical expenses out of the equation. They take education expenses out of the equation. I'm not advocate for socialism. I still believe I'm a capitalist, but at the same time, when you look at your peer nations and see what they do for their citizens, which we once did, I mean, we actually advocated for government-run healthcare. JFK was entertaining that. It's nothing new. And Richard Nixon actually advocated for a UBI system, which they have in Alaska. So are Alaskans lazy? I mean, I understand it's cold, but there's a lot of things that happen via the government that actually help. It's smart government that we need. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it's about striking some sort of a balance. I argue from like more libertarian principles or more like hard capitalist principles,
I'm left.
and then try to
That's
work.
all left. There's no negotiating. You rely on the government. Just got to make it smart and make it work in our interests.
Well, but I think the place to begin is from the government doing as little as possible, and then seeing, okay, this doesn't work. We need to add more government. Which is why sometimes it's really hard for me to have like conversations about like education and healthcare, because the government is already like sort of halfway in and halfway out, and so you don't know how things are. And then of course, like history kind of gets retcon and it's a little fuzzy. But I'm not of the belief that the government should just get completely out of healthcare, for instance. I think that they may just not be in it the right amount. We definitely need to like restructure it. Of course, like a lot of money gets eaten up by administration and by politicians. So that's definitely a problem. But like, this is one of the things, like even like abortion, like I'd love to talk about how we could restructure healthcare so that we could have the conversation about like, because I absolutely agree.
Well, how do you restructure it with government? I mean, you have to put regulations in there.
Agree.
So where's the libertarian vibe come in?
That the government is under no obligation to provide you these things in the first place.
If you put regulations, they're going to be abided by something. What, can you not define that?
Say what?
You agree to some kind of regulations. So when you regulate something, they're going to have to abide by something. That's why I'm curious.
I agree with some sort of regulation.
You got to be able to define it, man. That's why I'm saying it's a lot easier to just not create the bureaucracy to give unlimited excuses. So like, well, we got to do it like this, a little bit here and a little bit right here, which I think that'll be more costly in the long run. If you just make sure it's ran efficiently the way other countries do it, I think it'll be cheaper, which is empirically true. Countries that allow their government to take care of the healthcare actually are more fiscally conservative with their healthcare and the healthcare costs, and their citizens are healthier, which is another expense that's not something they have to worry about because their citizens are healthier. They don't have to be on medication. They don't have to call off of work so much.
I agree that there should be maybe it might make it more effective to implement some sort of regulation. What those regulations would be, I'd have to really, really think about, and not like on some like shallow philosophical level.
No, I hear you.
So I do think that the government could step in, and for all the tax dollars that they collect from us, they could use those dollars more effectively.
Yeah.
Like the actual detail of what they could be doing, I'd have to look at what they are doing right now and what I'd like them to be doing. But
That's fair.
It would pretty much look like less of I don't know, less like fewer bonuses, less money for the politicians, shorter
well, just reallocating things that we don't need to spend and invest it with our healthcare or education. I mean, because a lot of the talking points you're going to hear from conservatives or even independents, it's like, well, they're going to tax you more. I was like, well, not necessarily. I mean, just look at something they're wasting the money on and reallocate that to our healthcare. So
right. But of course, and a lot of that has to do with corruption. Anytime somebody is making 6 figures a year, 7 figures, that they're going to be corrupt, and at that point, their goal isn't about helping within the system. Their goal is keeping their job. So that's
are you for more regulation to prevent that from happening? Because that's anti-libertarian, if you ask me.
No, I'm I'm for different regulation. So
Okay.
I'd have to look at what all the regulation is and be like, okay, well, we definitely maybe need maybe we need like shorter terms. I don't know how deep the corruption goes, but wherever there's loopholes for like corrupt people to get in, or corrupt people to stay in, or corrupt people to like misallocate funds, then I think that, yeah, that's where you pepper in the regulation. But there may be regulation in other places that's just like costly and needless and just there, like what red tape, just a bunch of red tape.
Yeah, and I'm not saying the Democrats are angels, but could you tell me one good politician that you advocate for that would probably align with what you're recommending?
All the people are not politicians, and they say things like if they got elected, they would quit. If they got elected, they would ask for a recount. There are people who are highly skeptical of government and they don't want to run. First of all, I'd say Thomas Sowell, but of course, he's too old at this point.
I gotta read some up on him because I hear a lot of him being utilized for conservatives. Yeah, he's an economist. Yeah.
Who else? I'd say, well, again, not a politician. I'd say even Mark Stevens, but not a politician.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, so you vote? Do you vote?
I voted. I will vote, but I don't make it out to every election. Sometimes sometimes I feel really optimistic, and sometimes I feel like there's nothing I'm gonna do. Like I'm just like one guy. So it all depends on if it's raining or.
Thanks for that honesty. I mean, I consistently vote. And I do put more emphasis on local and state elections more than I do with the national politics. But still, it's really interesting to hear what people have to say, because when I talk to people on the left, they're very vocal online. They don't even know who's representing them in their cities or their states. And I'm just like, well, don't blame AOC. I mean, she doesn't even represent your state. I mean, what can she do? So,
yeah, and I hear a SOCDEM who speaks about this stuff, and he says, you got to get involved at the local level. And people say, well, I'm not really going to have an effect. And he's like, yeah, well, that's because all your issues are big and like widespread and federal. At the same time, the reason I don't vote a lot of times is I feel like, as somebody, I don't even like calling myself a Christian, but as somebody who tries to be more Christian, that voting is more worldly, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I think that a lot of the systems I think are in place for a reason. And I think that they're biblically ordained, and there's not a whole lot that we can do. So I just kind of, sit back. But sometimes I feel like,
I don't know, man, Jesus was a radical, man. He was pretty political.
No, he wasn't.
He didn't speak against the people that had the people with, and he didn't advocate for the people without.
No, but that's not being political. Politics is the means by which relatively small groups make decisions that affect the masses. He wasn't trying to make decisions on behalf of anybody. He told people the decisions that they should make, but he did not try to force anybody to decide something for someone else. He did not do that one time.
I see politics as a rhetoric. I mean, I'm not trying to force anybody. I'm just trying to develop a rhetoric to hopefully people make more informed decisions. And that's why I like having conversations, because I'm not telling you what to think. I'm asking you and presenting data. So
well, yeah,
hopefully
but when
you get value, and whoever watches this gets value too.
I really hope so.
That's what I meant when I compared Jesus. I mean, I didn't say he was like saying, telling what to do. I mean, he was led by example.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but yeah, and I don't think that.
I think that's political.
Say that's political.
I think it's political. That's a good way to be political, to advocate for your truths and then provide evidence and have that model that conversation. I think when people see that, they're going to align with that, and that's how you get power.
Yeah, but I think it's a stretch to say that that's political. I get it. Maybe it's good advice and a good way to live by. But unless what makes things political is like the use of force, the threat of violence that underlies this whole thing. We're going to take your tax dollars. We're going to use it for this. You're going to send your children here. You're going to get this healthcare. You're going to get this policy. You're going to take this service.
You're going to get this healthcare. I'd be like, hallelujah.
Well, I mean, yeah, until you realize that, you have this rare brain tumor, and we actually don't have to try to help you. So maybe you don't want to live to be 88 years old. That's long enough, right?
You're just throwing stuff out there, man. I mean,
I'm not. I'm not saying like, okay, maybe if you get some sort of health coverage, like, so if you get like pneumonia or something, somebody will take care of you. But I'm not going to jump in the air just because I got like some taxpayer funded, healthcare plan, because it may not cover. They decide what they're going to treat. They decide how much money they're going to spend. And so the fact that you don't have to pay anything, it's like, oh, good. Well, if I break my leg, that's awesome. If I develop some super rare cancer, I have to be like flown to some island like in Japan or something like that to where the only surgeon can do it. Like, they're not going to pay for that. So, you know, excuse me if I'm not like, you know, jumping out of my seat for this healthcare.
But in the United States, you'll have somebody to treat that. That's what's awesome about our country. Like I said earlier, if you have the money,
I mean,
they're going to be able to help you.
Well, yeah, if you got the money, but if you got a healthcare system that was like, if you got like Obamacare, you ain't got money.
Well, don't we still have Obamacare? They just took out the.
No, I'm saying, but
and that's a conservative healthcare plan, by the way. That was from the Heritage Foundation Thinking Tank by Mitt Romney. So
what I'm saying is what it covers. That's not going to cover the most expensive procedures in the world. They will let you die. And so,
I mean, not even my healthcare is going to cover the most expensive. You have to meet a deductible and all that stuff. I still have to pay stuff. So
right. So when you say
covered 100%.
So what I'm saying, if you have money, you'll get the healthcare, you'll get the cover. You'll get the service, and that's true. But to say that if you have like healthcare, that does not mean you'll get the service. That means that you'll get some services that the government decides. So essentially, the government decides what they're going to fix on you. Hopefully, it's a lot of things. Hopefully, what you got isn't that bad. But I'm not gonna fall all over myself because they're covering like little Timmy's asthma medication as a result of like reallocating tax dollars to something that maybe would have been of more use. I get it. Like I love Timmy, but this is where I'm going to poke holes in your argument. If you have a healthier society, it'll be more fiscally responsible for our country because we're going to have to cover less people. They're going to have less ailments. You see the small picture. I see the big picture. I'm more holistic than you are. I don't know if you necessarily can make the claim that everyone will be better off.
If you look at the data of other countries, they're significantly better shape. They walk more. They're not reliant on automobiles because they have a public transportation system that allows them to get where they need to go.
You don't think that's because of like urban development and customs and culture more so? Like I hear this all the time. Like Americans die so much more of like violence and drug overdoses and things like that. Things that like having a healthcare plan won't really help you with. Like if you get shot 5 times in the back of the head, it doesn't matter what your healthcare plan was.
It's poverty. They don't take care of people. I mean, they don't give you opportunities. So what other way are you going to make money? Crime.
No. Oh, you're one of those. You're okay. All right.
No, I'm not one of those. I mean, that is another way to get money.
No, but no, what you're doing the whole root causes thing, the social and economic factors. I grew up. I grew up in.
You grew up in Detroit where there's a lot of crime.
Poverty doesn't cause crime. Crime causes poverty. Flat out.
Crime. Okay. Well, then let's look. You want to look at some data?
Which guy?
Well, let's go ahead and look at some crime because I think a lot of the red states, which are going to be a lot of crime areas, they don't have a good economics. Crime statistics by state, USA. I'm just Googling something. I'll go ahead and show you something. World population. All right. So, I mean, I'll go ahead and I don't know how you feel about this data, but I'll show you what I got.
But wait, before you show me, I want to say, when I said that, I was really going more for like dramatic effect. I'm not saying like crime absolutely causes poverty. Like if you rob a bank and you take $15,000, you don't come back broker than what you got. What I'm saying is to put it in the right words. The people who are criminals are usually the people who are making bad decisions in the first place and therefore will end up poor or would have ended up poor.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and use my family in this scenario. I mean, my dad, he grew up in one of those neighborhoods in California. He had a lot of gang member ties, but what got him out were opportunities, sports, the military. And if those opportunities were not provided, due to the government, public school system offering sports, YMCA, they had more outlets, I feel like in the past that they don't have as much in areas where they need it. They're not invested in those areas. Because if you look at all the data of all the red states, like in West Virginia, where you have a lot of poor Appalachian people, not Black. I mean, you have a lot of white people that need some opportunities. We need to help them out.
Absolutely.
I mean, idle hands is the devil's playground. When you don't give the youth the ability to do something productive, to make themselves more marketable, to invest in our country with our youth, I mean, they're going to find something else to do, and it's probably not going to be as
I
productive.
agree 100%.
So,
But
I
I
mean,
think that,
okay, go ahead.
but I think that what we're talking about is the minority of circumstances. I think that what it really boils down to, and I love that because this started out as a cultural issue and it's about to become a cultural issue again. I think it's the values of like, it's the values of the culture of the people in those particular areas. And so
I don't know. It's westernized culture. I mean, whatever happens in the urban area with blacks is happening in a lower area, social status with the Latinos in their barrio. I mean, it's all the same. I live in an area where there's whites.
And their values are pretty, and you see their values are the same. But then if you look at the like the places where like the Jews immigrated, 80 years ago or however many years ago, if you look at how the Italians came and assimilated, if you look at how the Nigerian people, they have completely different values. And a lot of times they come here starting off poor and end up wealthier. And they grew up in poverty-stricken areas, but they, where they're all Nigerian, they're all like Chinese, or all like Jewish. Their values are so much better. They work longer hours. The children do use more hours of homework.
That's why I said the culture is a westernized issue, not a black or white or Latino.
I'm not saying that it's black or white. What I'm saying is, in the degenerate culture is stronger in ethnic communities, and I can't speak for any other communities, but I know, like, as far as what I experienced, the black community is special in this, because if you deviate from the toxic black subculture, you're immediately disowned by all the other blacks.
Yeah, I've seen that, but there's reasons. I'm not black, but I do read a little bit about it. They were denied the family values that they built upon. I mean, there was a lot of African-American communities that were taken away by the government.
They were denied the family values.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll explain. Like in Oklahoma City, they had Black Wall Street. Their whole community was taken from them. Central Park used to be a town owned by African-Americans, which was taken by the government. And then when they went to the military, they were denied the GA. I can't even.
Yeah.
The benefits from the military for serving their country. So when you're trying to build a family dynamic in this country and that strong male role model, they were getting the rug swept from under them on a consistent basis in the past. So that adds to systemic issues. And I'm not saying that's an excuse, but it's logical.
It's a reason. It's an explanation.
Yeah, it's an explanation. And it's not something that blacks should use as an excuse constantly, but it's a good reason. I mean, that makes sense a little bit when I hear that. I was like, you served your country and you didn't get the same perks as your fellow vets. I mean,
yeah, cool. I'm right there with you. Yeah, like our past was definitely we weren't treated the best, but I don't
Flint,
know.
You guys got good water. I mean, but in Mississippi, poor whites get treated like crap too.
Yeah, I know, and this is one of the points that even Thomas Sowell makes, that like it's not at this point, and even in the past, a lot of times it wasn't about race, it was about culture, because those rednecks from the South were treated poorly too, and they behaved poorly, and northern whites didn't like the southern whites, and just like they didn't like the blacks. But they didn't like the blacks because they had the southern culture, not because they were black. And
then one of the most racist whites were the southern whites too. So it's crazy. I mean, it's a very interesting dynamic that people don't like to be honest about that.
Yeah, but so I like to look at things like where we stand today, and I think that the degeneracy in our culture isn't helping. And I think that, like, to say that things like twerking, I think there's a lot of reasons to not like twerking. It's degenerate. And
it's
my grandmother, I know it's a dance, and there are some dances that are less degenerate.
What's degenerate is seeing all those infant mortality rates that's how I look at twerking.
I'm right there with you too. Yeah, infants dying is, I wouldn't say it's degenerate, but it sure is a tragedy, and whatever we can do to minimize that, I'm willing to talk about. but I don't think it's degenerate. Sometimes it just happens. And if it's preventable, then yeah, that's disgusting too. But our culture adopting things that really aren't good for it. Like we don't have strong values. We don't have strong work ethic. We don't value education.
I don't know if I agree with you on that. We're ranked number 10. Oh, I'm sorry, ranked number 10 in the world of part-time work ethic. So we don't work. We're not considered
is
the
there a
laziest.
ranking for work ethic?
Yeah, I think Mexico's ranked number 1 in the world. Here, I'll go ahead and pull those. My background's in sociology, so data is a really big thing that I like.
Well, you know what they say about lies and damned lies.
What do they say?
They say there's lies, there's damned lies, and then there's statistics.
Yeah, that's what I like to look at. I mean, if you think that's not going to be truthful, I mean,
I think that it can be. I think it can be misleading a lot of the time.
Well, what do you rely on to get? What do you rely on to get your information then? What's your media of choice?
Well, what I rely on is data analysis. So I could look at statistics, and sometimes the statistics tell a pretty compelling story, but then other times there's information that's completely left out. And like on the spot, gosh, I didn't know the conversation was going to lead here, but there are tons of, let's see. I don't know if this is a good one. Once I actually start talking about it, it might turn out to be stupid.
No, hey, there's nothing stupid, because I think, this is how the majority of people talk. Here is my hardest working countries from 2022. Like I had mentioned, Mexico, obviously, they've come over here to work. Okay,
so wait a minute. Wait, what does the text say in there?
Sure. It says hardest working countries from 2022.
No, will you scroll down to one of the countries so I can just read the little subtext there?
No problem. Mexico.
Okay, so they're measuring it by.
The average worker and another. Okay, important. With shorter work hours, the work and the annual wages. Those who work longer hours. I think it's based on working hours.
Okay, so
and we're ranked number 10. So everyone says we're lazy. I'm like, no, we're not.
Okay, so. I'm going to make a completely I'm going to build a hypothetical scenario here. What if those workers were like registering hours or clocking hours and not doing anything? They still make the list, right?
Well, we don't have wine breaks midday and just
look. Either you don't see where I'm going yet, or you do and you're trying to dodge before we get there.
Okay,
I'm asking
you're saying
the idea of this hypothetical.
Okay, I'll entertain it. I'll go ahead. So they are just
the point that I'm trying to make is I have to rely on more than just like some statistics on the surface. There's always a lot of times I want to look at the methodology to use to evaluate how people came to a particular conclusion, how they developed the statistics. And I know this didn't happen. What I'm saying is, if those people punched a clock and didn't do anything, the statistics would still show that they're the hardest working people, and they would be the least hardworking people, right?
Okay, yeah, I guess so.
Right. There was another one where they said that they measured, I think, the mortality rate of I think it was black children, and there was a correlation between the mortality rate and the prenatal care. And so I think it was like in the 60s, and they used this to push some sort of policy or to push increasing the amount of prenatal care that they gave to blacks, when what they didn't take in.
Are you there?
Yeah, it's
oh, hey, there you are. Okay, yeah, I see you. All right, cool. I was fishing around with stuff and I just missed something. Hey, you're a handsome man, so look, just putting it out there. You're a handsome man, just putting that out there. All right, now, continue.
So what they didn't take into account was that I think it was I don't want to sound racist, especially because my stepdad is.
I mean, when you're trying to talk about tough issues, I don't care. I mean, it's all good.
So I think it was like the Latin American women. They received lower rates of prenatal care, but had lower rates of child mortality than the blacks did. And so when you look at the statistics and you say, when you compare blacks to whites, you might think that you have something here and say, blacks receive less prenatal care and there's a higher infant mortality rate. But they didn't take into account the Hispanic women who had even lower rates of prenatal care, but lower mortality rates than
I
even
can
the
tell
whites.
you why. I mean,
Well, here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Like, you can tell me why, but my point is that if you just look at the statistics, you will be swayed and you'll be informed of something that's not compelling. My point was there was no reason to spend extra money on this prenatal care if the basis of the prenatal care was, oh, these children are dying because they're not getting the prenatal care. But that wasn't the case.
That helps blacks. It helps blacks. I mean, I think that's a good thing. But the reason it's not going to really affect the Latino culture because we're more family oriented. Blacks are more westernized. We're going to live with our grandparents. We're going to live with our cousins. I mean, it might be like that in some areas in the black neighborhood and communities, but I think they're probably going to be more aligned with what's traditional in the Western world. They're going to want their own apartment, or they're not together anymore. There's a lot of single households. I don't know the statistics on that, but Latinos
but the sentiment was these black babies are dying because they're not receiving the prenatal care. Whether or not the women were getting the prenatal care, they were getting like the vitamins and everything, they were selling them, whatever. Maybe it did help them. But the basis for starting the initiative was completely faulty. There was no reason to do it.
Well, I think another factor is they're taking away the facilities that were offering because they were taking away those Planned Parenthood areas, and that's where blacks would probably get all the things they needed. I don't know, but I understand your point. I understand your point.
Okay. And yeah, they say that blacks are turned down for loans and mortgages more than whites, and therefore racism. But
worse credit. I mean, that's the factor.
Yeah. But here's the thing, and that's why my whole point was like I was just trying to stick on the statistics thing, and it's like if you there's always a narrative being portrayed, and then there's statistics used to support it. So then you really got to look into how people did whatever study that they were doing. And it turns out a lot of times that you can really drastically manipulate statistics, and you can you can take into account some variables. You can paint a really good picture with statistics, which is why there's the quote even exists. You can lie with statistics. You can mislead with statistics. So just standing on the word statistics, I want to say statistics one more time. Statistics is really not the end all be all.
It's a tool.
Exactly.
It's a good tool, but it's like a conversation that we're having, and our experience is to articulate the how effective the tool is. Yeah, validity. I can't even say the word. It's my English is a second language, I guess. No, actually, English is.
Are you really
language.
ESL?
No. I speak English. That's my first language.
Okay, because you're like, what's your second language?
Well, I speak Spanish too. También hablo español.
Yeah, because people who speak Spanish as a first language and
no. I mean, but the thing is, I have to speak Spanish on a normal basis, so sometimes I get mixed up. So
no problem. I understand a lot. My stepdad is from some city in Mexico. So
I mean, but the thing is, I think what the social media aspect of all these conversations, it gets hyperbolic, and I think the best way to counter that is to have people to talk to each other, and that's why I want to normalize conversations. That's my whole goal of making this a different perspective, little project. I want to model that, and hopefully more people start to do it, and they can come up with more platforms for people talking. We're not listening to Ben Shapiro. We're not listening to TYT, making the outrage worse, or that lady that posted something. We could have these conversations ourselves. We don't need them to guide us with the conversation. And I think if politicians saw that, they're going to probably be like, oh, yeah, we better start doing our job. They're talking.
I agree with that. I don't think there's, I'm not going to, there's nothing I can say. I completely and totally agree. I'm a little skeptical as to because I don't think things are going to change too much, but I really hope they do, which is why I'm sort of out there,
Well, you're in Detroit, right? You're in Detroit. I mean,
I'm in the Detroit area.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard for you to accept the fact that change will be happening in time soon, because I don't even think Democrats are prioritizing what needs to be done over there as well.
Oh no, they're much more concerned with the their constituents. It's this whole thing about even the schools, the superintendent of schools is into something. There's corruption up the wazoo here, and really what I've been focused on is education. Since I had a kid, I'm like, oh God, I gotta send some federally funded propaganda mill, and it's gonna be underfunded, misallocated resources, and it's just gonna be a whole disaster.
Well, it's a bureaucracy. I mean, I think a lot of people want to go ahead and downplay the value of public school systems, and they I mean, if you look at school systems and that the teachers they have curriculums and they get new curriculums every year. So there's not consistency. They never really mastered their craft because there's so much of an incentive to sell new curriculums to school districts. And then the accountability becomes a factor. They blame so many other people. It's just a hot mess due to private interests and the government too. So I don't know
Yeah.
what to say to remedy that.
Yeah, I don't know. I got a few years to figure it out though, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a teacher, so I feel you. And I think a
No
lot of parents do
way.
get confused with the curriculum. I mean,
What kind of
the
car
way-
insurance do you have?
car insurance? Oh, my wife has a discount because she works for Wells Fargo. So
Oh,
we
okay.
got a discount. See, I mean, I like the perks that come with corporations. I value that. But, just like talking real, I think a lot of people just get too caught up in the emotions of social media. So, when you keep on saying, well, I'm dumb, I'm like, no, you're not. Most people need to have these conversations. And these are the smart conversations that I think we deny from each other on social media, So, but back to what you were saying, you're asking me about being a teacher. I think when people see the rubric, it's different from what we were having, It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, how do they grade your kids with 1s and 2s and 3s?
Since I was like last in like
No.
grade school, no.
No,
Uh,
like with your kids right now. I mean, are they in school now?
I am my only child is just turned 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's
I got
gonna
a little
be,
while.
yeah, okay. I got 2 kids. So I'm just like thinking, man, if I wasn't an educator, I'd be one confused person.
Why do you say that?
Because of like the academic standards that they require. I mean, it just was like A's, B's, and C's and D's and F's for us. And they had like a gauge from 0 to 100. And the ability to reassess kids, like a lot of conservatives are against that. But now I see the value in there because like in any job, when they train you, you're going to miss up in the professional realm. It's not just like one error judges your academic performance. So it's kind of modeled with the real life, but it took a while for me to realize that because,
Do you have
it was
time to like
different.
go into detail about that? About like how they actually measure performance?
Well, I don't know how your state does it, but like when you get your report card assessments, there'll be like for math, for example, like if they're trying to gauge your ability to solve multi-step word problems and you didn't do a very good job, and then you got I guess, a failing mark, which would be a 1. But you also have the ability to take it again and get a 2 or a 3, being the best mark was a 3. So I think that was like a big debate around Texas for a little bit, but I see the value in there because when you have an employee, you're not going to fire them right off the bat. You're going to want them to get retrained and come back, and hopefully they got better and learn from that. So
Okay. Is there any? Okay, so because the way we were graded, we would give, we were given assignments. Our assignments got, we scored percentages, and then the aggregate of those total assignments and their percentages were averaged, and then you got a percentage for the entire class, and that corresponded with a letter grade. Are you saying that like you could actually get you said it was on a what was the scale, 1 to
well, that's
whatever?
with report cards, but when you have standardized tests, which a lot of people here are against, and there's an argument for it, so it just depends who you ask. And it doesn't matter if there's a conservative or liberal. There's a lot of conservatives that are against all these standardized tests too, because they're like, well,
What I was asking, there was a question in there.
Okay,
and the question was like, is it possible for the student to score like the equivalent of 100%, even though on the first try on every assignment they can score like a 3?
Yeah. There's I mean, because it's the job of the teacher to prepare your kid for the assessment.
You don't see a problem with that?
See a problem with what?
With the ability for
to
like
retest?
For a student to it's between a 1 and 3, right? That's the scale. It's for them to score a 1 on everything, but retest or retry and get a 3 on everything. So they end up with a 3, but only because they did everything twice and got a 1 the first time.
Well, there's like a rubric to get a 3 too. What if they were able to do their computation correctly, but when they had to justify their thinking, they weren't able to do it? Like to tell.
My question is, they bomb the first time, 1, then they learn and they succeed, 3, right?
Yeah.
Is it possible for them to leave the class with a 3 or with 100%. I don't know if they even do percentages. They do away with that whole thing completely.
That's
yeah,
what
so,
made it. It was a transition for me too. I'm not gonna say it was less
so
confusing for me.
so what if in like a real life example, there was a person who got everything right the second time, and he wants to go to medical school, and he wants to become a surgeon.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
don't think
I'm
that-
sure they're going to have tests are going to be more focused on a goal when you get to higher grade levels. But when I'm talking about early childhood.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, yeah. So I'm not like talking
like,
like
I don't
if
want
you're
that
going-
guy to be my pilot, man.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, when you have to take like a standardized test at high school or possibly in middle school, I think standardized tests do have their part. But a lot of elementary kids, they don't even know how to socialize, and you're like making them look at a computer screen. There's a lot of conservatives that aren't down with that. They want their kids to have that hands-on experience, that social interaction with the kids, especially after the COVID lockdowns. They're not gonna want you to teach some damn test to their kid. You know, they're just like, hey man, they gotta have that positive mindset for school and enjoy it, not just think of it as like going to jail.
So how, like, as they get into upper, like higher
I don't know.
education?
My kids haven't got there yet. So I think
Okay.
that perhaps the grading system changes.
What's the ages of the
Fifth grade
kids?
all the way to fifth. Elementary.
Okay. Yeah. So at that point, yeah, I think that is probably where it's most useful.
Especially helping to educate the parents with the academic rigor that kids are required to use. Because I think kids are just smarter than what we were, man. I'm just like, dang, I didn't know all that stuff when I was your age.
I don't know. It's hard for me to say because in my family, we hit our declining years at 27 and I'm 32. So my best days were far behind me cognitively. So unless my field changes a whole lot, it doesn't. So I'm happy about that.
Well, hey, man. Hey, aside from us getting off topic, I guess we'll just go ahead and close it to say our arguments, what we were initially started with the twerking. I think you just think it's something that you would push away from. And me, I'm just, actually, you said you didn't matter. So it was like, it's just what it is. I don't know. I don't know exactly know how to close our argument.
Oh, I think that I usually can cut these really short. My contention was simply that it was a little much to accuse somebody of bigotry for the sole basis that they didn't like twerking and they were like against twerking. That's all. I just want to say, like, just give somebody a chance before like we start throwing around.
Well, that's the thing. The likelihood of her responding to me is I did the same technique she did because she just wanted to toss something out there and seeing what will happen, I guess. I mean, I don't make a post like country music sucks. It's not music. I don't care what people think. I'm going to get a lot of hate. I mean, so it's just like, you can't expect people to be like, why is he saying country music sucks? He was in Texas. He must be like against our culture, you know?
Right.
So it's just like, that's the kind of vibe I got from her. And then just to see the conversations, exception with you, of course, it just reinforced what I thought. I was like, it was a dog whistle. Other people were taking like negative innotation from it. And they were, they provided me with that evidence. But I think hopefully the people that were talking about how it was homophobic, I'm like, well, watch this conversation and learn from it. And then
and I know we're closing, but I want to say, like, I think the homosexual community has enough enemies to where they shouldn't be concentrating on trying to make enemies out of people who just so happen to not like something that may or may not be a part of their culture. Just same thing for Black. I think Black people, we got enough problems that we shouldn't be trying to make everybody out to be like a racist or a bigot or something like that, just because they may not like one particular aspect of our culture. That said, I think there's a lot of our culture that we do need to clean up personally. So
that
that's
applies to everyone.
I just wanted to be like, hold on, give the person a chance to actually be bigoted, towards a group of people before we like,
I don't think she did it. She did it to a point for her to have a genuine dialogue with anyone. She did it for outrage, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, she definitely did it for the reacts. But that's what a lot of. And honestly, like I don't know who she is either. Yeah. It's just somebody that I follows her or something like that. I don't know how the Twitter algorithm works. I'm more of a lurker than like somebody who's active.
But you're a real person. That's the value right there. You're a real person. I think we got to remind people on Twitter that we're real. You know, people like that are just trying to get us to react. They're the problem.
That's a new concept, and as I hear it, I agree. A part of that really does resonate with me. That like that, you know, that those people, you know, no one really exists. You're not a real person on Twitter, and we are real people. So,
All right. Well, hey man, I like having good conversations with people. So hopefully we could probably have another one. If you want to be a part of a panel, it'd be awesome to have you, because I have people from Europe. I would love for you to hear their perspective with healthcare and abortion, and you actually have a conversation with somebody from another part of the world. So
okay.
That's what's cool about social media. We all have platforms. We're just normal people, but we're able to talk to someone from Detroit, someone from Texas, someone from Germany, someone from California. And that wasn't something that I had access to before. And now that I do, I'm going to go ahead and flex a little. And hopefully you can do it alongside with me one other time. So
yeah,
it was good talking to you. Man.
Really pleasant. Yeah. Wonderful talking to you. I guess I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, hey, you have a good one. Doc, oh my gosh, I forgot what I gotta call you. What was it again? I forgot.
It was Whodat, but it was, yeah.
Whodat. All right, Whodat, man. Well, hey, man, it was nice talking to you, and I'm going to go to bed too. I'm already getting sleepy. My coffee's wearing off. But hey, it was good talking to you, dude. Have a good one.
Later.